Well, while we spend today reflecting on 27 years of democracy and freedom from apartheid, we have to look at what freedom is in the COVID-19 era. Many felt like they had lost personal freedom during lockdown. That, coupled with dismay over how government has handled the pandemic and vaccine procurement, has left many feeling despondent. Let's talk about this and the impact it's had on us and what it's done for us, for the nation's psyche, with Aradhana Ramnund-Mansingh, a clinical sociologist. Aradhana, good morning, and thanks so much for your time. So over the past year, more than ever, we've actually felt what loss of freedom was like. Like we mentioned, we talk about lockdown, curfews, rules about things like social distancing, sanitizing wherever we went. Compared to apartheid, what do we take from this, what we see as our new threat to freedom? What have we learned over the past year and a bit?
Good morning, and it's great chatting to you this morning, Uveka. Well, it's not, it's interesting you say that, because has anything really changed? We talk about this loss of freedom during COVID, but pre-COVID, if we think about, and you said it earlier on, we grappled with the inequities, the poverty, the unemployment rates. We grappled with infrastructure such as the inequities in education. And then COVID hit, which intensified all of this. So, we've never really enjoyed a true sense of freedom. Freedom was a matter of ticking on a piece of on a ballot paper. So in terms of our true sense of freedom, have we even felt that? If we had pre-COVID, 63% of women who were living below the poverty line. Now, in this last year, there's no current stats available, but that's obviously increased with the number of, people now unemployed. We speak in a South African context of, during COVID, an increase of 54% in gender-based violence, while countries like France and Lithuania speak about, they call it a travesty in gender-based violence of increases between 20 and 32%. So, these are sort of the statistics that we need to bear in mind in terms of, have we made progress in any way towards freedom when we talk about this loss of freedom during COVID?
Yeah. Well, Aradhana, has it on any level united us as South Africans? Because for the first time, we had this common fight. It was the first time since the dark days of apartheid where, yes, we thought that, we were a united nation. We saw that in the years before this, we saw racism, come to the fore again. We had so many incidents that were so highly publicized. But when it came to COVID-19 and the pandemic, was there on any level some kind of unity, even between the haves and the have-nots? And we know during this time, there were those that weren't too bothered by lockdown. They had food, they had money, they still managed to keep their jobs. And like you said, there were others who just suffered the worst, and they continue to suffer. But was there any level of unity where we were all just, fighting the same thing, and we felt that? Yes,
we were fighting a common pandemic. I mean, globally, we've been doing that. In South Africa, I think the one thing where people could relate on the same level has been education. Because although we have let's look at higher education for an example. We have private and public higher education. However, the challenges that students faced were the same. Although the level of service between the higher education institutions were different, the challenges that the students faced were the same. The first-year students coming in the year 2021, for example, had the same challenges. There were so many language barrier challenges. One of the biggest challenges that we saw in higher education was the fact that students, irrespective of public or private higher education, sitting in areas where even if they could afford a 15 Rand airtime voucher, they were sitting in geographic areas that had absolutely no connectivity. They faced challenges where between 3 to 5 households in that rural area were sharing one laptop, in the sense that preference was given to a matric child, and then it was escalated down to how far up are you as a university student. Yeah. So these were sort of challenges that the youth have felt intensely during the pandemic.
And do you think then, Aradhana, that, you know, as the President kept telling us in this time of lockdown and in our pandemic year, which still goes on, that we need to find our silver linings, we all need to find our silver linings. Do you think that there is still room for government, for us as a nation, to seize the opportunity and look at what has happened and look at the divides that we might have forgotten, where the lines maybe became a bit blurry, and actually take this as a nation and work with that and make ourselves better?
Absolutely. You know, if we don't now more than ever, we have an opportunity to start being mutually inclusive. And that's been a huge stumbling block, you know, although it's been a stumbling block globally, but in South Africa, because of our painful history and past, now is the only time that we can sort of stand together and say, let's start understanding each other's pain, you know, let's start being mutually inclusive of each and every individual, irrespective of race, gender, class, sexual orientation, etc. So now is the best time for us to actually stand together as a country to, you know, to move forward. You know, we've had those challenges where, exactly as you mentioned earlier on, the privileged felt a different sense of challenges. I mean, women, for example, who had the privilege of always having domestic help, of having childminders, their struggle was the fact that, oh my God, I have to cook, I have to clean, I have to, you know, spend time online teaching my children. Whereas for many other women is, if I go back to work, do I actually have a job? How do I feed my children? Another important factor that's come out of this is the fact that with so many parents and people dying in the pandemic, it's increased the number of child-headed households in the country. So, you know, very pertinent issues, and now is no better time for us to all stand together, united in a country, and start understanding, you know, different narratives of different people within the country.
Thanks very much there, Aradhana Ramnund-Mansingh. She's a clinical sociologist. We leave it there for now.